All right, this is a review of finding circumference of a circle. So the first thing I want to do is to remind you that with a circle, the distance around the circle, or the perimeter of the circle, that is the circumference. And we find that by multiplying pi times the diameter. So from the center point, a line that extends all the way through the circle from one end to another and passes through the center, that is the diameter. The point that goes from the center point to one end of the circle, not all the way through, just halfway through, that is the radius. So if in a circle, the diameter goes all the way across, and the radius just goes from the center point to the edge of the circle, then the radius is half of the diameter. That means if you're given a circle and you're told to find the circumference of a circle with a radius of 4, you would have to find the diameter first. So to find the diameter, when you're given the radius, you multiply that by 2 to get your diameter. So if the radius is 10, then the diameter is 20. So if I'm given the diameter, and I'm told to find the radius, if d equals 12, to find the radius, I would divide by 2. So my radius would be 6. Now I'm not finding circumference right now. I'm just showing you the relationship between diameter and radius. If the diameter is 30, then we would divide by 2 to get the radius is 15. So that's just showing you that diameter is twice the radius, and radius is half of the diameter. So that's the relationship between the two of those. So now that we know that relationship, we can use this to find circumference of a circle. So on your circumference sheet, finding circumference practice, it says, what is the formula for circumference of a circle? The formula is circumference, C, equals pi times diameter. What does each letter represent? So C equals pi times D. C is circumference. This symbol is pi, and the D is diameter. Number 2, what is the diameter of the circle below? What is the diameter? So it tells us the radius equals 2.2 feet. To get the diameter of a radius, you multiply by 2. The diameter is 4.4 feet. Number 3 says to find the circumference. So now is when we use pi. First step we do, write down the formula. C equals pi times diameter. Next, plug in the correct values. Circumference equals 3.14 times the diameter, and the diameter is 6. The third step is to plug it into the calculator. And you literally type 3.14 times 6. And that gives you 18.8 centimeters. Remember to pause this video as you are going along. You try number 4 and then hit play and watch me work it out. That way you are learning as you go and you're grasping this information. Number 4, find the circumference. So the first thing we do, it's always this 1, 2, 3. Number 1, write down the formula. Number 2, plug in the correct terms. The diameter, this is going all the way across, so this is the diameter. That's going to be 18. Then calculate. Plug it straight into the calculator. Circumference equals 56.5 inches. Number 5, find the circumference. First thing we do, write down the formula. Circumference equals pi times diameter. Next, we plug in the appropriate terms. Circumference equals 3.14 times the diameter. 32 is not the diameter. This is the radius. We want the diameter, so we want the rest of what goes to the other side of the circle. That's another, if this is 32, this is another 32. So the two of those combined is going to give us a diameter of 64. I'm going to plug in 64 into this formula. And then I multiply 64 times 3.14, and I get that my circumference is 201.1 inches. Number 6, find the circumference. Step 1, write down the formula. Step 2, plug in the appropriate terms. Now this is halfway through, so that means that this is the radius. So when you work this out, you should have found the rest of the diameter. You're going to multiply the radius by 2 to get your diameter. Diameter is 2.4, and we're going to plug this number in for diameter. And when I multiply that, plug it straight into the calculator, that gives me 7.5 centimeters. Number 7, find the circumference of a circle that has a diameter of 2 meters. You still work this out the same way. Step 1, write down the formula. Step 2, plug in the appropriate terms, the correct terms. It says diameter, so I'm going to plug in this 2.5, and then I multiply. Circumference equals 7.9 meters. Number 8, find the circumference of a circle that has a radius of 27.2. Step 1, write down the formula. Step 2, plug in the appropriate, correct values. This is saying radius, so I have to multiply 27.2 times 2. So I'm multiplying this. That gives me 54.4 for my diameter. And when I multiply that by 3.14, I get that the circumference is 170.9 centimeters. Andrew wanted to know the circumference of his bicycle. He measured the radius, which is 13 inches. What is the circumference of the tire? So he found the radius was 13 inches. So I'm going to multiply that by 2 to get that the diameter is 26. Circumference equals pi times diameter. C equals 3.14 times 26. When I calculate that, I get that the circumference is 81.7 inches. Challenge. Rotations per minute, RPM, measure the number of times the tire goes all the way around. If Andrew rode his bike for 10 minutes at 30 rotations per minute, how far in inches will he travel? This is going above what we've been doing in class, but all it means is that we're going to take 30 rotations per minute for 10 minutes. We're going to multiply this. 30 times 10 is 300. And then we're going to multiply this 300 rotations per 10 minutes by our circumference, because that's how many times that it's going around. And that gives us 24,510 inches. But what we're mainly focused on is how to find circumference. So let's look at number 10. Abby has a circular walking path by her house. She looked on a map and saw the diameter path was about 500 feet. So we're looking at diameter. If she walks the path 4 times, about how far in feet will she walk? So the first thing I want to do is find my circumference. C equals pi times diameter. Plug in the correct value. So I'm going to plug in this 500 times 3.14. And that means that the circumference is 1,570.8 feet. It asks, if she walks the path 4 times, how far in feet will she walk? So I'm going to multiply this by 4. And that will be 6,283.2 feet. How many miles will she walk? So if 1 mile is 5,280 feet, this goes back to scale factor that we did at the beginning of the year. 1 mile is 5,280 feet. We want to know how many miles is 6,283.2 feet. So when we cross multiply, we get 5,280x equals 6,283.2. Divide by 5,280. And again, this is just extra. This is above and beyond the circumference. We get that she will have walked 1.2 miles. All right, let's get back to circumference. The work below has a couple of errors. Describe the errors made, then find the correct answer. So these are common mistakes that you are making when you solve for circumference. So our formula is correct. C does equal pi times diameter. So that's right. C equals pi plus 16. So the first mistake is adding pi to 16. They chose 16, but 16 is the radius. We are supposed to use the diameter. 16 is not the diameter. And this says 19.4 centimeters squared on your paper. It should not be squared. So the correct solution should be 16 times 2 is 32 is your diameter, which is 100.5 centimeters. You know that that's not correct because the circumference is approximately 3 times bigger than